want to talk today about a very delicate theme regarding narcissistic mothers, and when daughters or sons of narcissistic mothers start healing and start putting boundaries and starting to get out of the relationship of an oppressive narcissistic mother. And that one subscriber, she was writing to me that she saying, I feel worthless and sad, and sometimes I can't even feel myself, or I can't put in order those feelings. Okay, this is a real healing theme. This is something we really need to attend to when we are talking about narcissistic mothers and feeling worthless and sad and dealing with our emotional emptiness after a lifelong of being let down, being put in second, third, fourth, fifth place, being always the one who's guilty, being the one who can never do things right, who will never succeed, and who's always going to be the one who's being, let down, minimized, and ignored, abandoned by a narcissistic mother. And how other could this result than feeling worthless, sad, and obviously unlovable. Welcome to my channel. If you like to, you can subscribe down there. I'm happy to have you. I love your comments, and I'm very curious what you guys have to say about those topics. I know many of you are living those narcissistic relationships in reality, in actuality, and not all of those relationships are narcissistic mother relationships. Many of you have commented that you were living not only with a narcissistic mother, that you also had a covered narcissistic father, that you had narcissistic siblings, and in the end what you're doing is very often getting into a relationship with a narcissistic partner. There is something absolutely logical about feeling worthless, sad, and empty, unlovable, if this is what has been transmitted to you a lifelong by the person who should have loved you more than anybody in this world. And it's also hard to listen to those stereotyped ideas about mothers, like having to love your mother and father while you had to live in relationships which not only that you can't love them, but where you haven't even received ever love, respect, and contentment, and that it's very hard for you to relate to these demands a society, or sometimes also religion, or more than anything a religion, addresses in a good child, or in a good daughter, in a good son, or how you ever want to put it. I get you. I know about your emptiness, and I understand that you sometimes can't even feel anymore. Okay, I would like to talk about a thing we call dissociation. I'm not so good sometimes at using terms, which are a little bit scientific, but I think it's a good and relatable term, and it describes something which is really important to understand. If you couldn't figure out as a child if somebody who was supposed to love you and who was seen possibly as good, as achieving, as maybe really loving, as a person who is drawn to other people, who's funny, who's entertaining, who's present, and having to grow up with a person like this and with an image of a society or a neighborhood or other family members who wanted to transmit you an image of a mother or another narcissistic relative or narcissistic partner, which is loving and caring, while you do perceive in your heart that something is really wrong here, right? And that there's something based on the information and the influence you are receiving from others, which makes you understand that she should be like this, and you start like looking for these traits, and you do maybe see them once this narcissistic person goes out and is being applauded by the community, by their working environment, by their organizations, wherever they're like dealing with, in their churches, and you understand that this can be sometimes there, but most of the time it isn't even there, and it is not even close to it. What you feel, how this person treats you. And this is so important, that you understand at a point where you have been mistreated psychologically or physically or sexually, throughout your childhood, and when you had to grow up in an environment where you had to deal with this one or a community around you, or some people around you, or even you perceived it, you thought it to be this way, how people think this narcissistic person is in their most positive traits, but you feel it very different, because this person, and you don't understand it at the first, you understand it until you're 50. I get all these comments like I had to learn this in my 50s, that I had to grow up with a narcissistic mother. It took you so long to get there, to understand that this is such an abusive relationship, and that you had to pass through so much pain, and you're so damaged psychologically that you can't even figure out the difference between is she like this, or is this now love, what she does and how she behaves, or he behaves, if it's a masculine person, a man, and this dissonance, between what other people say how they are, and what you have lived how they are. You do see this image of this person, and that this seemingly has nothing to do with how you perceive this person, how this person behaves towards you. So you have a constantly, like almost like a constant questioning, and you're like, this is so weird, And what a kid does, it thinks the mistake, the error lies in me. I must be the one who is here the guilty one, because she treats me so badly, because she says I'm the guilty one, because if you would do it right, my life would be not that miserable. And you assume inside your emotional world that that this is true, but something inside of you, because your emotions are hurt, but something inside of you understands that you feel something different, and you even know something different. You know that she or he has these two faces, that once towards outside and towards the community, she is playing the big player and the big game, and the outcoming and grandiose and beautiful and empathic person, And once you're inside this, I call this secret relationship. Once you're inside the victim dynamics and the abuser dynamics, once she shows you or he shows you their true face of victimizing you, you feel there's something really different going on. So when you get into this confusion of, she's different, or they have told you she is like that, and then you feel all this pain and all this hurt, and this doesn't make sense. And for us, in order to not having to deal with this confusion and with this dissonance, of understanding one thing is right and it stays right, having to go back and forth of understanding this is right, but now this is wrong, and feeling like, oh, she's, this mother I really want to be loved by, and then she turns around and I feel I need to cringe, and I need to like take myself back and not being touched by her toxic sting, and having to withdraw again from my, let's say, ambition of my motivation to be loved by this person. So at some point you just shut down, Association is when we're getting together. Dissociation is when I simply dissociate what I think and what I cognitively perceive and what I feel, because feelings are getting so strong and so demanding and so contradictive that I can't deal with them anymore, or maybe so sad, or maybe I feel so guilty, or everything together, or my abandonment is so profound, or my sadness and my loneliness are so profound, while this person goes out and says what a great person they are, and everybody applauds her or him. And it is sometimes hard to take for us as human beings. So we have, let's say, invented this possibility of simply disconnecting the knowledge from the feeling, and we can get along better with that for a while, for survival. But at some point this becomes just really dysfunctional and dissociating, like no longer associating what I perceive there is what I feel inside of me, but making a cut and saying there's something wrong, so I better don't feel no longer, I just see what's happening there, and so I get all into my mind, I get all controlling, I get all rational, I get all intellectual about things, and I want to understand them, and I become all driven by my cognitive processes. This is not really helping me to get out of dysfunctional dynamics, to get out of feeling worthless and sad, but it is rather to keep all these strong negative feelings inside of this, I always call this box, this safe, where this is all safely locked down. And it hasn't the possibility, unless something strong happens, usually on a level of relationship, that this kind of opens up for a moment, and what comes out is really all scary stuff, So for us, it has become at some point, when we as humans have been passed through so much mistreatment and through so much ambivalence and through so much things we can't understand and through so much pain of guilt, of being accused of being guilty, of sadness, of loneliness, of abandonment, of not being understood, and of not being loved. We just feel better off closing all those emotions down. And now comes this part where this subscriber says, sometimes I can't feel anymore, or I can't put my feelings into order, I can't categorize it anymore. I don't know what's coming up, where to put it anymore. And this is totally natural. This is totally natural, because all what you've seen, all what you have wanted, all what you have understood, all what she made you understand, what everybody else made you understand, was totally contrary to what you were feeling for, to what you were perceiving, to what you were living in. So this becomes so confusing that we as humans, we just shut down, okay? And what we shut down is our emotional part. We can function more or less still on a cognitive level. We can become very controlling. We can become very demanding. We can become very triggered in small situations. We can become very hurt, very depressed, very sad, very lonely. And we can relive those processes over and over again inside of a relationship or then outside of a relationship. But relating and trusting and opening up and to be true to myself and to be true to my feelings and to perceive them as something valuable can become so confusing. Because what is coming out once I'm opening up a little bit is, let's say I'm opening up because I'm falling in love with a person, I'm starting a new relationship. So I'm opening up, but what comes out is all anxiety, is all mistrust, is all, I'm starting to become all anxious, I'm becoming all sad, I'm becoming all rejective of this person, I'm becoming all feeling abandoned and sad, all these strong feelings come up, or I become angry. We're talking about this too, about the anger issues as a way of keeping strong emotions away from me, that somebody who triggers just because I love this person inside of me, that I open up. But what this person also triggers, because I am so vulnerable and I'm so wounded, that this person makes, and I'm like, no, don't touch this, this, I can trust you, you hurt me, This is what happens if we have this box full of strong emotions and we can't deal with them because we have, now I always say it's like this pot. You open this up while something is cooking inside of it, you lift up the lid and there's coming like big old steam out and you're like, oh, whoa, this is too much. And this is how these emotions feel, and there's coming up so confusing emotions. So we have to educate ourselves so much in the contradictive dynamics, how these people bait us, how these people need us to be guilty, how we started to feel guilty, about something they haven't made us feel guilty about, how I project my guilt, how I self-sabotage, this is so complex, so we really need to take out one feeling after another at the moment they're coming up, and try to figure out if this was induced, or if this is my original feeling, or if this is like an at the moment feeling, or if this serves me right now really to put limits, or if this is just there to screw me up, or if I'm just crazy after all. It's like, this is like the waters we are going through, and of course it's hard, but I just want to give you like this advice for like this short video I can do about it, I can make about it. Start self-love. Self-love is the alpha and omega of becoming more strong internally. Start setting boundaries no matter what. And be it to have set boundaries, do it softly. Just do it softly. Just do it softly, that you don't hurt yourself and that you don't hurt the other person in the case of doubt, but try to be elegant when putting boundaries, and put boundaries early. Okay, try to set limits early when you can't figure things out. Get out of the situation, find a place where you can find peace and safety in getting into yourself and in understanding what is really happening inside of your emotional world and what was really happening inside of those dynamics. They're sometimes really difficult to figure out. I get this. But cultivating self-love will be crucial for you to strengthen yourself, to strengthen your inner feeling, to strengthen how you feel you can be there for you, and how to take yourself seriously. And this is going to be a really crucial point in understanding that there is a emotion coming up now. Let's put it like this. And you just contain this for a moment and you say, okay, this is here right now. I don't maybe have to understand it, or at least not in a context where maybe the person who is triggering this emotion inside of me present, be it a good person, like a person I maybe want to start a partnership with, or be it an abusive person. Just always take your time. If you have this kind of person in front of you that you say, I want to get into a partnership here with somebody and I need this person to understand, just tell this person before it gets to it, that you sometimes need to get out of situations and to understand yourself, who you are, where you are, what you're feeling right now, what is important for you, and to having like this moment of grace with yourself, to stay in your emotions, to get to a point where you get to peace again, where you feel this is where you can stay with yourself and understand that you have the right to be now with yourself, and to feel this emotion and to see what you can do, I say, with this inner child, to ask this inner child, what do you need? How can I take care of you? There might be also situations, it's so hard to put this all in one video, but there might be also situations sometimes where you just have to send this emotion out, where you want to say, no, there's no longer like feeling guilty, or being really angry, that you say, no, I have to deal with this on a different level. You need to go right now and I will take care of myself and see what's under that, or what motivates me or what motivated the other person. It's a very difficult path, it's a path you have to go through with a professional to understand what's really going on inside of yourself. Nobody, especially having come out of relationships which are so compromising, which are so strongly so hurtful and so damaging. It is really hard to take care of yourself afterwards in your healing process, all of yourself, and to box yourself again all by yourself through this. It just doesn't make sense, excuse me, it's impossible. Not even we as like trained psychologists can do this. So it is very difficult to answer those questions with sometimes I can't even feel anymore, and I can't understand where to how to structure my feelings, where they come from, and what to do with them. It just really sometimes needs a process of healing. We just have to say this. But what I really want to give you at this moment to maybe heal a little bit more is something you definitely and always can do for yourself, is setting those boundaries, putting those limits. Just do it elegantly. Just do it for yourself. Not just be there for your inner child, for this bundle of hurt feelings which are coming up, which have been essentially raised in your childhood to be there, to stay there, because you couldn't deal with them. You had no idea to deal with them. And to do no more this disconnection, this dissociation, This would be a way to get to yourself and to allow yourself to make associations, to make connections, to try to understand where did it come from, what does it mean, understand the dynamics, and cultivate self-love. Be there for yourself. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Cherish yourself. Be receptive to yourself. Be receptive to your needs. Be receptive to what wants to come out of you without hurting others. Just listening to yourself. Just taking yourself serious that there's something going on. Okay? This is the best I can answer this question of this subscriber. And I know you're all walking around with those doubts and with those struggles about what emotions are coming up and how can this come that I feel so worthless and so sad, especially at a point where I'm trying to get out of this relationship with a narcissistic person. Worse, obviously, when it was a narcissistic mother, but it is not so probable that you have gotten into a narcissistic relationship with a partner without having some form of damage, which wouldn't have you noticing that this person is on this line with you, and on this treatment with you. So this is the best I can give you as of a quick video. Take much care of yourself. I always tell you, for many people, this is science too. work with this higher being, with this God, with this what you ever believe in. For me, it's a God above, a creator God, a God who is love, who said, you guys can do your own will, no longer slaves, you're my kids now, I love you and I give you guidance. If you, fulfill this commandment of love, you're going to be just fine. But I understand that this isn't really happening here right now already, and still developing this faith and this trust, which science has shown us, that people are coming out of adverse situations and even out of sickness and disease with much, much, much better results if they had this trust and this love and this faith into a loving God, into a loving spirit, into a loving universal spirit, which is there to give love and to put things in order again. I hope this helped to you, this was helpful to you. If you like to, you can subscribe to this channel. Take much, 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 much care of yourselves and love yourselves as much as you can all day long. Tell yourself how wonderful you are, how beautiful you are. Each time you make a mistake, tell yourself, that doesn't matter. I love you how you are. You're beautiful. Give yourself really some compliments all day long, and tell yourself all day long how worthy you are, how lovable you are, how you will find your way out of this situation, and how God will guide you through this, and Christina's videos too. Take much care. If you want to subscribe and check out those videos coming up, right back, left and right. Maybe this is of interest for you. Send you much love. Bye.